start?
لا يا دكتورة لسه. Kazim will start giving an introduction, then I will give an introduction. Gafar will say something, then I will give you the floor.
Good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SCoT. We are with you today with another webinar from the Arab world. This is the second webinar that we have from this series of with Professor Galal today, and we thank you all for being with us again, or for those who came for the first time to SCoT webinar. Before I start, I would like to ask Professor Jafar Jafari, who is the curator of SCoT webinar series, to invite us with the opening remark. Professor Jafari, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Qasim, and good morning, good day to all of you. Thank you for joining us. As Dr. Qasim said, if this is your first time, it would be useful for me to tell you something about SCoT webinar series. But if you have been with us before, therefore you hear me saying the same thing twice. We started this webinar series more than a year ago, and the intent was to have a series that deal with issues that normally are not dealt with, particularly tourism goes after big events and mass volume and so on and so forth. And what we forget is that tourism is really spread all over the world, and there are many small villages, small communities that have a small number of tourists coming to them, etc. And these people, which happens if you add them up together, it becomes the bulk of tourism. There is not much help going to the small operators, to small destinations, to those cultures hidden behind the hills and mountains and so on and so forth. So we wanted to do something different to be of help to them. And as Dr. Galar said, the intent is to bridge theory and practice. Some of us are professors, we deal with theory of tourism, and some of us are practitioners. We know exactly what we are doing, and the two have to come together as they have come in other fields. I'm very much looking forward to this presentation of the Arab region. Somehow this implies, when we say tourism in Arab regions or tourism issues in Arab regions, it somehow implies that Arab region is very different. If that's the case, then we have to say what makes a difference. Is it the geography that makes a difference or distinguishes Arab world, or is it the society, the culture, the religion? Why do we sort out Arab countries or Arab worlds in tourism? Is it halal tourism, halal food? What are these issues that distinguishes this region, or what is something that distinguishes this particular webinar to concentrate on Arab world? So I am here to learn. I'm not here to talk about the subject, and I will join you. I will be with you throughout the webinar, and I will join you back at the end of the webinar. Qasim, back to you.
Thanks, Jafar. Now we are ready for the food that Professor Galal has made ready, and we are all waiting for it. So I also don't take time, and I would like to pass the floor to Professor Galal, and we are here, Galal, to hear and learn from your enlightenments. The floor is yours, Professor Galal. You are muted.
Thank you very much, Gafar, and thank you very much, Kazim. It has been a long journey since we started with Professor Gafar. Since Dr. Gafar, actually Professor Gafar started this webinar, I attended a couple of them. And as Gafar said, it has been always a useful learning platform for everyone. Without taking a lot of your time, it's my honor and pleasure to welcome all our attendees to this webinar, which is entitled Current and Future Issues of Tourism in Arabic Region. As you all know, the Arabic region has always been a worldwide destination for tourists since the ancient civilizations. Countries like Egypt, Iraq, Syria, Palestine, and so on, they have been receiving international visitors for thousands of years now. And of course, with all the current changes, we need to know more about this region. What's going on? What are the main challenges? How can we see the future of tourism? Actually, we have two aspects here. Arabic region as a tourist destination and Arab tourists visiting other destinations. We need to understand the both approaches. So it's my pleasure now to welcome all our speakers. Today, inshallah, we have 4 speakers. We have Dr. Masouma Al-Plouchi. She is going to start. And of course, I'm going to introduce her in a minute. Then Dr. Muhammad Dif, then Dr. Inas Mistiwi, then at the end, Professor Ahmed Farouk. So if you please, I will start with Dr. Masouma, our first speaker today. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce my colleague, Dr. Masouma. I was honored that I worked with her in the tourism department in Sultan Qaboos University. She is a faculty member. Dr. Masouma has more than 15 years of education experience, and her research interest actually it's very wide. So she wrote in tourism and hospitality management, human resource management, cruise ship, and of course accreditation. Dr. Masouma, she was the head of our department for 3 years, and during this period she managed to get the TEDQual accreditation from the United Nations, and it's a privilege that the tourism department in Sultan Qaboos University was the first one to get this accreditation from the UN in the Middle East. So I'm welcoming Dr. Masouma, who is going to talk about tourism in Sultanate of Oman, current trends and future perspectives. Dr. Masouma, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jalal, for your introduction. I think if I would have introduced myself, I wouldn't be able to say what you have said about me. Thank you so much. And I will share the presentation, and I will try to stick on time, 10 minutes, not more. My presentation is going to be about the tourism in Sultanate of Oman, the current trends and future perspective. And I'm going to talk about the giving the general information at the beginning about the Sultanate. It's located in the southeastern tip of the Arabian Peninsula. The population of the Sultanate is almost 5 million, and the currency of Oman is Omani Riyal, which equal to 2.2 euro or 2.5 to the US dollar, and the majority of the income coming from oil. Oman is one of the GCC countries, which is a union of 6 countries in the Gulf region: Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and of course the Sultanate of Oman. And we call it the GCC, which the Gulf Cooperation Council. The tourism education in Oman is provided by 8 institutions currently. At the top of the educational institution is Sultan Qaboos University. We provide the bachelor degree and master degree as well. And we have also other colleges providing the tourism education, such as the College of Higher Education, Oman Tourism College, German University of Technology in Oman, Gulf College, Majan College, and the National Hospitality Institute and KIMG Training Institute. Some of these, some of them they provide a bachelor degree, and they offer a bachelor degree, and some of them they only offer like a diploma or short courses. Talking about the tourism in Oman, I'm not going to take so long in this because we can cover some of the information during the discussion if there is any question that you might like to ask. But the tourism in Oman started, or the country is relatively newcomer to the international tourism, and the tourism in Oman started in the late 1980s. The contribution of the tourism to the GDP is a little bit lower, and it was 2.2 in the period between 2010 and 2015. And Oman ranked the 4th among the GCC countries in terms of the number of visitors and tourists visiting the country and staying at least one night, which is equal to 5.7% out of 43.8 million visitors to the GCC countries in total. And this is in the period of between 2015 and 2019. Oman is has a very rich of different tourism resources. We have the cultural resources, and we have also the natural resources. We have, in terms of cultural heritage sites, we have forts, we have castles, we have also traditional markets, the souks, and we have the natural resources, such as the conservation sites, natural caves, sands and dunes, mountains, wadis, villages, islands, and also hot springs all over the country. And this makes the country a tourism destination. The country also is at the top 5 safest places for visitors, and this is also one of the elements that makes this country as a safest tourism destination. The country or the tourism sector is focusing on creating jobs for the job seekers in the country. So one of the things that they are focusing on is the Humanization Plan. And this plan is mainly focusing on reducing the reliance of expatriate or the dependence on expatriate in these sectors, and trying to encourage the Omanis to enter this sector or to work in this sector. And this plan has been in effect since 1988. The country also trying to do some expansion plans, and that's going through different plans, such as Tanfeed. It's a 5-year plan, and I think if we can talk about it, discuss about it later. Dr. Jalal also very familiar with this plan because he was part of it. Tanfeed plan was launched in 2016, and the country is trying to find a different source of income other than oil, and it's a 5-year plan. Try to focus on other sources, as I said, like mining, industry and manufacturing, fisheries, and transport and logistics. In this plan, most of the sectors gather together to try to find a different source of income, or trying to focus on how they can diversify the economy from relying on oil instead. Some of the people ask why they should invest in Oman. Why they should invest in Oman? Because Oman has different, we have a different reason that people like to invest in Oman, like the strategic location. the foreign ownership, that people will, when they invest, they have 100% ownership of their in the free zones, and also 70% in most sectors. The political and economic stability of the country is very important. The taxation is very low in the country. It used to be 0%. Now it's only 5%, and only on some items. It's not on everything. Capital and profit repatriation, and the diversification of the economy. One of the things that the country also focus on is the integrated tourism complexes, and this is one of the things that they are working on, because it's try to develop the infrastructure of different places when they have these kind of complexes or these kind of projects. And it's 100% freehold property ownership. People, when they buy in this kind of project, they can enjoy certain benefits like the free ownership. They also the inheritance laws, and they have the Oman residential visa for the property buyers. After they buy the project, and also during the construction, they can have the multiple entry visit visa. The Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Heritage and Tourism, they launched what we call it the Oman Tourism Strategy from 2016 to 2040. And they were focusing on developing some different areas, such as the coastal area of Masandam, the Hajar Mountains, the Frankincense Trail in Salalah, the cosmopolitan culture in Muscat, and the soft adventure in Oman Desert. And one of the things that the country also focusing on is the cruise tourism. Because we have a very long coast, and we have three main ports in Oman. We have Sultan Qaboos port in Muscat, and this used to be a commercial port, but now it's a tourist port. We have also Salalah port in Dhofar, and we have Khasab port. The country focusing on trying to make Oman as home ports, not ports of call. And this can done together with other sectors, such as the Oman Air, because they have different routes, non-stop services to different destinations. Also, if there are, all of these elements work together, we can have a compelling. We can have Oman as a compelling destination. We can have, if we have all of these aspects work together, the Oman Air, the supporting assets like the hospitality industry, the entertainment, recreational services, and also the security of Oman, where has no match anywhere in the world, that will make Oman a compelling destination. And this is and of course is the beauty and distinctiveness of Oman is one of the important things that attract tourists to the country. And here we can take you in a virtual tour in Oman. This is Matrah, where we have also the Sultan Qaboos port, and the handicraft, the culinary arts, the cuisine, the Omani cuisine, the Omani halwa, and of course, if anybody going to visit Oman, they will not miss the Matrah, the gold Matrah souk, and the frankincense in buying the frankincense from Matrah souk as well. Thank you very much. Hope that I didn't exceed the time.
Exactly 10 minutes, Dr. Masouma.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masouma, for this
I tried to be very quick and fast.
Thank you very much. You did very well going through 45 slides in 10 minutes. This is a record.
Yeah,
thank you very much for that. You give us a very good brief about Oman. Unfortunately, not a lot of people know how beautiful Oman is, and what kind of tourism assets we have in Oman. So thank you very much. You're already receiving a couple of questions, and I have something like 4 or 5 other questions. So you will have a lot to do during the discussion, Dr. Masoom.
So I should run now.
Okay, now we can move to our second speaker, Dr. Mohammed Daif. Dr. Daif, he received his PhD in hospitality management from Leeds Beckett University in UK, and he then worked for different tourism institutions in Egypt, in UK, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. So he worked in 4 different very beautiful destinations. He then built a significant record of academic achievement. And Dr. Mohammed, I'm very proud of that. He is a co-founder of the Tourism and Hospitality Management Department and the Hajj and Umrah Business Department at Qura University. Mohammed, you should be very proud of being part of that. So we are waiting to hear from you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Galal. I'm really pleased to be among the scholars from different worlds, from different countries, particularly Professor Gafar Gafari, Professor Kazim, and everybody in this panel. Thank you for inviting me to your prestigious workshop here. And I'm really going to present about sustainable tourism in Egypt and the role of the hospitality industry to push the sustainability forward in the tourism sector. Before this, we should mention that tourism is one of the leading sectors in Egypt, and it comes second to the Suez Canal in terms of the economic income. And for the purpose of our topic, we really need to focus about the structure and oversight of the sector in Egypt. In the last 3 years, we have the sector have witnessed some structural change, significant change in terms of merging it to important ministries, the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Antiquities, in one under the umbrella of the Ministry of Tourism, aiming to shift the country's focus, the traditional focus from sun and sand offerings to promote further the antiquities tourism. And in 2018, the Ministry of Tourism has launched its tourism reform program that is known as TRP to drive the sustainability forward. And we really need to look about the strategy that they launched this time and the aims included in this strategy. The performance and size of the industry has witnessed dramatical fluctuations during the last 10 years since the 25th January revolution. And however, the industry hit strongly by the bombing of the Russian airplane in 2016, and then as part of the global, as every destination in the globe, the industry hit again by the COVID-19 pandemic. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a significant recovery in the industry with international tourism that grew in Egypt by 20% in 2019 compared to 2018 with 12.6 million visitors. International visitors also spending accounted for 59% of total tourist spending. The industry indirectly employing 2.5 million, which accounts for 9.7% of the total employment in the country. According to WTTC, these figures are expected to increase in 2022 and the industry is going to employ 3.2 million by that time. The leisure tourism accounting for 86% of the total visitor spending, while the remaining is for the business travelers. Germans become at the top of the tourist arrivals in 2019, followed by Saudi Arabia. People from Saudi Arabian accounting for 80%. The Arabian travel market reported that the number of European tourists to Egypt is forecasted to rise from 6.2 in 2018 to around 9.1 2020, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, these figures couldn't be trusted at this time. Sources of markets and arrivals. The travel from the Middle East to the country rose significantly between 2015 and 2020, and the Saudi Arabia tourists came at the top of the Arabian tourists to the country, accounting for 6% of all visitors' arrivals in 2018. According to the Ministry of Tourism, also focusing and promoting the industry in other emerging markets, particularly in Asia, including China, Japan, and Vietnam, among others. Also, there is a promising promotional plan in Latin America and the other regions of the world as part of the TRP strategy, and in an aim to move significantly to achieve the strategy objectives. The industry has recently aiming to increase the total number of hotel rooms from almost 89,000 in 2018 to 230 rooms by 2030. According to the Egyptian Hotel Association, there are currently almost 8,000 hotel rooms under construction, with an investment of $800 million, and it is there are also 8,000 rooms are expected to be completed by the end of this year. If we look at the hotel infrastructure in the country, we will find that most of the hotels are based basically in the Red Sea and the South Sinai, which are characterized by its eco-fragile system and the biodiversity of the country. The figures can be good indicators of the huge development in the country and the ambitious expansion plan, and which will raise questions about the sustainability of the region. The business as usual model still predominates the mindset of policymakers, and they are only looking for the numbers of tourist arrivals, the numbers of the hotel rooms that are going to be constructed in the next few years. Without proper planning, we can see that in some regions of the country, the unique selling propositions of certain destinations have been lost due to the degradation of the quality of the environment, particularly in the Red Sea region, in cities such as Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh. And the destination has already witnessed a slippery slope in the market, and there has been a switch in the market, the original market that came particularly for diving, which is a core product in the region. But however, there was a dramatic shift in the market towards the Eastern European countries, and the environmental issues still remain or receive low priority in the agenda of the policymaker, because they put much emphasis on the economic growth, while the sustainability issues take backseat, of course. also the private sector has enough power to resist any initiatives or any efforts for a change, which also put which also raises the concerns about the sustainability of the region. After presenting such figures, we can think that the current strategy, we can ask the question that whether the current strategy is the appropriate reform for the country for the sector after this dramatic crisis that the country experienced in the last 10 years. All the people are talking about the need to back to normal, while the other destinations, even from the developed countries, about new paradigm due to the increase in the tourist consciousness about the green issues and sustainability of the tourism products. We can see that major crisis like COVID-19 has presented an opportunity for the industry to rethink a shift in the proposed on the business as usual models, and to emphasize more shifts towards more sustainable and resilient models. However, we really need to, from the policy makers, to think again about the current strategy and their huge emphasis on developing or over tourism. We need to think about the current offerings of the hospitality industry, such as all-inclusive programs, which was blamed for degrading the quality of the hotel offerings in many regions of the country. We need really to think for alternative tourism, such as ecotourism, because the country actually has great potential for promoting such alternatives in many regions across the country, in Siwa or whatever, or another destination in the country. Hospitality needs to take the industry's futures on hand and shouldn't leave this to the governmental intervention. The hospitality operations or the hospitality businesses have the capacity, have the capabilities to invest voluntarily and improve their sustainability practices. The hoteliers need really to understand that they depend basically on a healthy global ecosystem, and if they don't care about this or don't care about these issues, this will affect their operation, and because they are usually located in vulnerable environmental destinations, which would impact their revenues or operations severely. Customers nowadays are looking for sustainable businesses, and the pandemic has raised the awareness of the customers who started to look for quality tourism products and for more security. And while this issue was controversial in the past, that there was no clear evidence about green consumerism in the tourism industry. However, the recent surveys and the recent studies emphasize that green movement in the industry, particularly after the pandemic. The hospitality industry in Egypt has a major impact on, and as everywhere, has a major impact on the ecosystem, and the people should to think about the stereotypes that the industry is clean and green, because it is the largest consumer of water and energy, particularly in areas such as Red Sea and the regions that suffer from scarcity of resources.
Dr. Muhammad, we are running out of time. Okay? We are running out of time, huh? Go on, please.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. if we look at the current situation, we will see that the industry in Egypt has taken some initiatives like the Green Star initiative. However, because due to the relaxed environmental regulations in the country, and it is only a voluntary scheme, only 76 hotels are certified until now. Doing business as usual continues. Hospitality companies adopting sustainability measures basically for cost savings or gaining competitive advantages. There is no obvious change in the mindset of hoteliers in the country. Locally managed hotels think that it's the governmental issue, it's not their issue. Only few international chains in the country have gone further by incorporating sustainability measures into their structures and operations. However, they are still in the beginning of the journey. We really need to have a change in the paradigm, in the current paradigm, in the business as usual paradigm, to think more about the sustainability issues and to push the sustainability issues forward to protect the core product on which the industry have been established in the first place. Local hotels need greater effort to become more environmentally friendly because they lack for economies of scale and lack for the supporting organizational cultures and structures. Moral support in the form of tailored educational programs could be a solution for this to push the sustainability model in the country forward. The emphasis has to be more on comprehensive approaches of sustainability and instilling the sustainability values in the programs of sustainable and hospitality education in Egypt and in the Arab countries. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed, for this presentation about the situation and for sharing your concerns about sustainability in such a great destination like Egypt. This is a serious issue, and I believe as well you will have a lot of discussion by the end. So thank you very much for sharing your concerns about this important topic. Now we have Ines Mistewi. Dr. Ines, she got a PhD in marketing from the University of Tunis. Ines, she just got her PhD a couple of months ago. So she is a new colleague, and that's why I believe her area of research is, for an old colleague like me, it could be described as innovative. Her PhD and research focus on mobile technology and social media. Okay, this is very new for an old man like me. So we would like to hear from you. And Ines, inshallah, is going to talk about challenges in another very important Arab destination, which is Tunisia. So Ines, I hope you will enjoy one of your earliest presentations. We will have the honor to have you with us today, and I wish you all the best in your coming academic career. Okay, you can start.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, hello everyone. So in my intervention, I will try to focus on the impact of different challenges and COVID-19 on the Tunisian tourism, and try to predict or present some suggestions for this industry. First of all, I feel it's important to highlight the contextual characteristic of Tunisia. As most of you know, that's the country that triggered the Spring Revolution. I will try to present some previous national crises and their impact on the Tunisian tourism. Next, please. So the situation was really challenging after the revolution. Tunisia has gone through really difficult times. We had political and social instability, and we've had several terrorist attacks, the ones of, for example, Bardo and Sousse, where most of the victims were tourists, which make Tunisia be considered as a risky destination. And we've seen the number of tourist arrival decreasing from 7 million tourists in the pre-revolution to 4 million tourists in the post-revolution. The decrease, unfortunately, was equally massive in 2015 when we've experienced the tourist attack, where a number of tourist arrival fell of around 33.6%. So compared to the previous year. Next, please. So the two situation unfortunately weakened the tourism sector. The government tried to reconsider its strategy, mainly focused on the international tourists, and tried to diversify and the tourist offer. The strategy started to be productive. We've welcomed 9.4 million tourists in 2019, but despite this record, the sector was still fragile, and the COVID-19 enhanced or maybe revealed problems that already existed. Next, please. So as you all know, the COVID-19 is one of the most sharp situations in worldwide and in Tunisia. We've experienced several curfews, lockdown, border closures and restriction. And Tunisia, like many other countries, has opted for the lockdown. The government decided to sacrifice tourism for health, for safety, as in Tunisia, our hospitals are not very well equipped. So the choice was unfortunately self-evident. We gave priority to health situation over economic situation. It had several impacts that I will try to go through them briefly. The first one is an economic impact. Same as other countries, it had severe impacts on tourism industry. Number testify of it. Next, please. For example, number of tourist arrivals fell of about 75%. These are the numbers gave by the former tourism minister Habib Ammar. So as I said, the number of tourism arrivals fell of around 75%. Most of the booking were postponed. Tourism revenues also fell of around 60%, and overall overnight stay by about 80%. Some experts qualified this crisis as the most severe one, and this is really justified. If you compare, for example, if you have a reflection on the impact, or we try, for example, to compare numbers with the crisis, the security crisis that we had in 2015, we can say that this is the most severe crisis that we had for the independent Tunisia. Can you please go to the slide number 4? Sorry. The second impact is the social one. As I said, the revolution, the consecutive crises we've had weakened the tourism sector, but these couple of years were really very tough. Those who have money have been able to survive. Those who have not, unfortunately, perished. It applied for small and large businesses, because since the revolution, since 2011, small businesses emerged trying to resist to mass tourism. They were blooming, they had significant demand, but unfortunately, they were the most affected by the crisis, because they are running small projects and they do not have maybe the financial assets that large structures have. And the government tried to interfere, trying to save the tourism and trying to preserve jobs, but only helping and assisting large structures. So no contribution were given for small businesses, as they are with no significant maybe profit compared to a large structure, because they are autonomous and they are not backed by any institutional power trying to defend their interests. So we might say that maybe previous crisis and COVID-19 unveiled or enhanced the problems of marginalization and inequity. The third problem is a political one. As you all know, same as other countries, we've already opted for the lockdown. But in 2020, for example, we've had a steady period of 0 cases. The government was in a moral dilemma, but the border opening was under the pressure of the tourism industry. We've already welcomed 131,000 tourists, and we've tried to boost further the industry by trying to organize charter flights from European countries. Unfortunately, we couldn't have what we expected, because on the other side, European countries were trying to promote their tourism and trying to promote their national activities. So next, please. This crisis is trying to force us to think differently. How is that? This crisis and the previous one, the previous hiccups, as I explained, we had experienced consecutive crises, the national one and the health problems of the COVID-19. We've had this led us to have more than 10 ministries. So each one of them had their short vision, strategy and policies, which might be different from the one previous to them and the one following them, because they were trying to handle a crisis situation, a challenging situation, and to promote tourism and try to save the tourist season. So instead of maybe trying to reconsider or rebuild the whole strategy, we found ourselves in a strategy of continuity. So in my opinion, in my humble opinion, Tunisia has to have, for example, several audiences. The government should innovate, and maybe the seaside tourism, on which we've been betting for decades now, I think it had led the system to its limits. The competition is fierce in the Mediterranean area, and Tunisia maybe chose to position itself as a low budget destination, just providing beautiful beaches and low cost offers, or maybe all-inclusive offers, where tourists just leave the hotel for 2 days tour in Sidi Bou Said or Medina of Tunis. So the government should stop, for example, positioning Tunisia as a mass destination and try to promote the various forms of tourism, cultural, Saharan, ecotourism, medical tourism, and try to enhance the different landscapes that we have in Tunisia. Also, maybe the previous crisis taught us that we should not rely on international or European tourists, only on European tourists, but because if one thing is sure is that Tunisian, for example, living abroad and Maghrebian followers have already saved the tourist season for several times now, since the revolution of 2011. Second, we should reorganize maybe or restructure tourism. As we all know, an anarchic recovery could not lead to significant results. Maybe you should plan more efficiently, or organize, or try to better manage the tourist flows by maybe trying to, as we've done in 2014 and 2015, try to diversify the offers, try to better manage the distribution in the Tunisian territory. Maybe the government should also encourage and promote small businesses because they might revitalize, as we've seen the tourist season when international tourists are absent. We might suggest a recovery plan because we have a lot of problems and we've already experienced a lot of challenges. We must capitalize on these difficulties, on these experiences, and try, for example, to reconsider, to think differently, to pose radical solutions, maybe to provide some long-term viable persistent strategy or policy, and try to think problems differently, and maybe try to not reproduce the same mistakes that we have done, and having more, for example, encouragement for young entrepreneurs, for small businesses, for trying to maybe target Tunisian living abroad and Maghrebian tourists, etc., and not relying over and over again on international tourists and the same strategy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Ines. If this is your first or second presentation, I can guarantee you will be a very good schooler. Huh?
You are very good. This is the second. Thanks a lot.
Oh, okay, you are very good. Okay, you have a future. You have a good future. Okay, and of course you will have as well a couple of questions. Actually, even if I'm coming from a tourist background, but you surprised me with the situation in Tunisia. Of course, I'm following up what's going on, but I was not thinking it's that much negative. I'm sorry to say. And of course, maybe we need to discuss this situation and learn something out of it. Thank you. Now we will move to our last speaker today, Professor Ahmed Farouk. As we can see from the previous three presentations presented by Dr. Massouma about Oman, then Muhammad about Egypt, and then Ines about Tunisia, we presented three different destinations. Now we are going to, Dr. Ahmed, inshallah, is going to present for us an overview of one type of tourism, which is sport tourism and organizing sport events from the Arabic world as a whole. So let's say this is some sort of conclusive view of one of the tourism types in our region. Excuse me. Professor Ahmed, he is a professor of sport management, and he worked for different universities in Egypt and Oman. His research interests include sport management, sport economics, and of course, sport marketing. And Dr. Farouk, he served as a supervisor of and examiners of tens of master's and PhD theses. He has more than 30 articles, and he has been invited as a keynote speaker for more than 25 different events. So, Dr. Ahmed, the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thanks, my dear Dr. Galal. At first, I am so happy to be here with this interested group in tourism and the sports tourism. And at first, let me say thanks to SCoT webinar and our colleague, Dr. Ines, Dr. Massouma, Professor Jafari, Prof. Dave, and especially for my dear colleague, Dr. Galal Afifi, for give me this opportunity to give a brief about our reality of sports tourism in the Arab world. Before or during or after the corona pandemic. Before the corona pandemic, the Arab world has always organized some sports, like continental, international, world championship, and more than international or world. But our world, our Arabian world, don't organize any mega sports like FIFA World Cup or Olympics, and I will explain some of reasons. During the Corona pandemic, some Arab countries organized international tournaments and world championship under strict hygiene measures, and they succeeded in organizing. But some of them were cancelled before the start of tournament, and I will review some of them also. In the future, we will review a number of sports that will be organized in Arab world. Also, I will review some of them, and I will talk about some World Cup, Qatar World Cup, or Formula One at Saudi Arabia. Now, before Corona pandemic, the Arab countries organized many international world sports championship, except the Olympics. Say, look this picture, this list of cities hosting the Olympics, but our Arabian countries is not allowed. Okay, and the FIFA World Cup also looks this picture list of countries hosting the FIFA World Cup, and our Arabian world not allowed. Why? Because we have many factors related to sports facilities, sports history, or organization readiness. Okay. During the Corona pandemic, also World Championship at the Arabian countries, we organized many World Championship or continental or local or international tournaments and the championship under precautionary measures, and we success. We have something from our international federations and sent to Egypt, to Morocco, to Saudi Arabia. Many thanks for organize this under this precautionary measures. And some of them were cancelled, and I will talk about this now. Let us now show some examples about this. In Egypt, during the Corona pandemic, Egypt organized some major sports tournaments in 2020 and 2021, like World Men's Handball Championship. It had 32 teams participated. Was organized under strict precautionary measures like organizational bubbles and this a new organizational system for especially for Corona pandemic. Okay, and World Fencing Championship and World Shooting Championship and World Gymnastics Championship, as especially for World Shooting Championship, this tournament was attended by 400 rounds and 31 countries, and this championship as especially is one of important events organized by Egypt in 2021, and was organized under strict precautionary measures. Say this before, and we take many thanks from IFFA Federation, ISSF Federation for organize, and we success about this championship for many players and many officials, and it is one important our organizing sports in Egypt. Morocco, Kingdom of Morocco also organized a number of tournaments during the Corona pandemic, like Futsal African Cup, It's more than 150 players and officials under and also organizing under great precautionary measures, and Morocco won for it, and success for organization. Karate Premier League in capital Rabat cancelled due to coronavirus because the International Judo Federation announced the cancellation of Judo Grand Prix at Rabat, which was scheduled to be held between 6 to 8 March 2021 in capital of Morocco, Rabat, due the spread of coronavirus, because Morocco have many many people for have a coronavirus, and for this International Judo Federation announced to cancel this World Championship. Type. Saudi Arabia organized a number of tournaments during the corona pandemic also, like World Weightlifting Cup, Spanish Super Cup Football Championship, World Youth for Weightlifting, have organized by Saudi Arabian Weightlifting Federation in Jeddah during 4 to 12 October, this October 2021, with participation of 326 players and more than 50 officials from 45 countries from all the world. Spanish Super Cup football, it's one is major sport investment in Saudi Arabia. Dr. Dev say Saudi Arabia is one of countries coming to tourism world. So Saudi Arabian organize this championship, Spanish Super Cup football championship. And now, okay. To future of organizing sporting event, major sports investment and tourism sports after large financial returns for organization, the Viva World Cup like this. Look at this picture. We have revenue for Viva World Cup 4.8 at 2014 World Cup, and 2018 World Cup have 5.2. It's large revenue from organized Viva World Cup. So and the increase in Formula Racing revenue from sponsorship 2018, it's $1.7 billion. Okay. Sorry. Yes. And now, when we say this revenue from racing, our Formula Racing revenue, we're going to make a racetrack at Bahrain. This SCoT racetrack joined to the World Championship calendar in 2004, and it contains to host the racing with organization success through the SCoT circuit, with as 57 laps with a total 308.4 kilometers. And another one, Emirates Baniyas race track, it has 56 laps with a total of 309 kilometers. It costs 3.8 billion dirham Emirati for build. Okay, and last one, Jeddah racetrack, the new unique Formula One, and will host championship for 2021 next December, inshallah. Okay. this event at Saudi Arabian Formula World Championship Saudi Arabian في November and December, next November and December. Ministry of Sports in cooperation with the Saudi Motorcycle Federation announced on November 5, 2020 that the kingdom will host the Saudi Formula One race for cars in Jeddah next November of 2021 as a part of partnerships that extended for the next 15 years with Formula One. Jeddah circuit or Jeddah racetrack is a planned motor racing being built in the coastal city of Jeddah on the Red Sea in Saudi Arabia. القدة طبعا القدة project is a famous one now for this. And now Saudi Motorcycle Federation say our ticket is finished. 120 tickets are finished now. Ticket price within 220 for 25,000 Saudi riyal. Okay. And Saudi Arabia also will organize Dakar Rally 2021 with motorsports and motorbikes and quad bikes and trucks and desert car. For 2021, Dakar Rally is the 43 edition of the Dakar Rally and the second in a row hosted by Saudi Arabian after hosted the Dakar Rally 2022, which was first edition to be held in the ASEAN continent. The rally started on January 3 January until 15 January 2021, starting and ending in Jeddah. And I think we have 2,000 players and officials and some people for mechanics or something. Okay. And last one, World University Squash Championship in Egypt, a popular sport that has a hug audience in Egypt. The Ministry of Youth and Sports targets to return to the glass stadium at Pyramids. It is an overview for our sports tourism and financial sports in Arabian world. I hope that I have been able to explain part of this investment and tourism events that took place before, during, and after the corona pandemic. Once again, many thanks to our colleague and Prof. Dr. Galal Afifi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ahmed, for this presentation about sport tourism in the Arabic world. And let's move now to the part which Gafar likes most, the questions. So if you allow me, I will take a couple of questions from the chat. Then I will open the floor for any questions from the audience directly. Or if it's much better if you can write down in the chat area the question so we can take it from there, if you please. So the first question is coming to Dr. Masuma.
Professor Galal,
yes.
Do you want to have a short video that you provided first? Then we come back, and within a few minutes, the participant also can grab their drink and come back with this. So.
It's still not showing, Kazim.
Just a moment.
intoxicating history. It's a cradle of civilization. The Middle East has an intoxicating history. It's a cradle of civilizations and a beautiful, complicated land that's home to some of the world's most hospitable people. Jerusalem, Beirut and Cairo. The Middle East cities read like a roll call of historical heavyweights. In this land of historical, architectural and all manner of other treasures, it may just be the people who'll live longest in your memory, along with the privilege of exploring such a fascinating land. This is one of the Middle East's most treasured attractions. And when the sun sets over the honeycombed landscape of tombs, it's a hard-hearted visitor who is left unaffected by its magic. Towering over both the urban sprawl of Cairo and the desert plains beyond, the pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx are at the top of every traveller's itinerary. The Middle East may be strewn with landmarks left by the ancients, but few carry the raw, emotional power of Persepolis. Sacred to Muslims, Jews and Christians alike, the Dome of the Rock is an epicenter of religious convergence and conflict. It is also home to a gold-plated mosque of singular beauty, built to represent humankind's yearning for God. The Nile is Egypt's lifeline, an artery that feeds the entire country from south to north. Only by boat can you appreciate its importance, and also enjoy seeing archaeological sites from the water. High season runs June through August. In the spring and autumn, weather is often agreeable, and crowds are generally smaller at main sites. Daily costs in the Middle East can range from under $40 if you enjoy a dorm bed and street food, to over $300 for a luxury hotel and fine dining. The Middle East has a reasonable transport network. Although distances are long and standards vary, check travel advisories before making long overland journeys in most countries. From ruined cities to the aspirational architecture of the great faiths and modern settlements whose origins date back to the dawn of time, the Middle East is an astonishing and complex region where the past is always present, history is the heart and soul.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Professor
Kazim.
Jalal.
Thank you.
So
This is a lovely short movie.
yes.
So going back to the questions from the chat, the first one is going to Dr. Masouma, and one of the attendees asking, have you benchmarked any other destination for the developing Tanfiz? If you can open the mic, Dr. Masoum.
Yes, Dr. Jalal.
So the question is, did we benchmark any other destination for this plan? If you can tell us briefly what Tanfiz is about for those who join us late.
Tanfiz is a plan that is set for different sectors in the country, because the country is trying to diversify the economy from relying on oil to find other source of income to contribute to the GDP. And they were focusing on different sectors. Tourism was one of these sectors. And our benchmark in tourism was, mainly it's Oman itself, but because, we have a unique, a unique type. So that's why we are mainly benchmarking ourselves. However, we also benchmark the country to a little bit to Malaysia, where we have a bit of similarities between us and them. And we are always not looking at the mass tourism. So that's why we are going a little bit slowly on tourism. Maybe some of the people, they think that we are not developing as we are supposed to be, but we are trying to look at the different aspects that related to tourism, not only the mass tourism. So Tanfidh was trying to find a different source of income to the country. That's why all of the different sectors were gathering together and trying to brainstorm different ideas. To come with new ideas and how can they encourage the tourism, or how they can develop the tourism. I'm just talking about tourism because there are other, as I mentioned, other sectors also in Tanfidh. And Dr. Jalal, you were also part in that plan.
Yeah.
So
if you allow me, Dr. Masouma, as you said, we have from Malaysia, but when it comes to tourism, as Dr. Masouma said, we were not 100% copying what was going in Malaysia. We were focused more on trying to create our own identity when it comes to this plan. We tried to learn from different but mainly focusing on trying to get the Omani context. This is something unique about Oman. We are trying to do it different from whatever other destinations. So thank you very much, Dr. Masouma, and I will come back to you as well. But I'm going to move to Dr. Muhammad Daif, and we have a question here about, I will try to summarize it. Do you believe that we seriously have sustainable tourism in Egypt, or do we have a long-term strategy for sustainability? Are we really applying sustainability in Egypt? We have been known for a very long time as a mass tourism destination. So this switch, especially with all these concerns you mentioned?
To be honest, we are still in the infancy stage of sustainability in Egypt. Although we have started to talk about this issue maybe 20 years ago, and to incorporate sustainability issues in the strategic plans launched by the Ministry of Egypt in the country. However, on the ground, the hotels are only interested in the things that can bring them competitive advantage, like cost-saving measures or green certifications, but there is no real movement towards incorporating the sustainability indicator seriously into the agenda of the tourism sector. And because this is also still limited to some large companies or international brands that they need to follow their headquarters path, because we still have only a voluntary scheme. Nobody feel that it is their business to be responsible for the environment. The governmental huge emphasis on economic growth at the price of anything, of everything, at the price of the environment or other issues. Put and the relaxed implementation of the environmental regulations as well make the sustainability to take a back seat. It's yes.
Oh, just to complete this part, Muhammad. All of us know that Cairo, for example, our major tourist destinations. I know you are coming from a hospitality background, but maybe you can help us answering this one. You know, our main destinations, Egyptian destinations like Cairo, Sharm el-Sheikh, Hurghada, we cannot describe them right now as a sustainable destinations. Can you give us an example of a positive or a positive example about a destination which you believe is to some extent applying sustainability in Egypt?
The best destination ever is Al Gouna, because there is really a willingness from the owning company of Al Gouna to have to promote Al Gouna as a green city or environmentally friendly city, and they ask all the hotels in El Gouna to get certified by Green Globe or other certifications like Steinberger, or I think Sheraton, they are all certified.
Okay, Muhammad. Just
also, we have Makadi Bay as well. We have Makadi Bay.
Okay.
All the hotels in Makadi Bay also are all certified, which belong to Solimar and.
Okay, Muhammad. Just the last part, and I'm looking for a shorter answer. Do you believe that sustainability is going to work, knowing that Egypt? Dr. Masouma, for example, she was mentioning that the tourism strategy in Oman is built on one massive target, which is to create jobs. Oman, actually, yes, of course, everyone needs money out of tourism, but Oman, when it comes to Oman, no, it's about creating jobs to the young generation. When we talk about Egypt, we have different approach to tourism. Mostly we are looking for enhancing our GDP, looking for foreign currency and so on. Do you believe seriously that we can apply sustainability knowing that?
Applying sustainability?
Applying sustainability knowing that we are looking for GDP mainly?
Yes, sustainability has three pillars, basically three pillars: environmental, social, and the economy. Most of our emphasis is apparently on the economic pillar of the sustainability, neglecting the other both pillars, the social aspect or the environmental aspect.
So your answer is yes, we can do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Muhammad. I'll come back to you again. Dr. Ines, you have a question here, and I like this one. Do you believe that package tour would be less resilient in dealing with the current crisis?
Less resilient, which means they will, for example, resist the conventional way of I think yes.
The question is not about Tunis, but we are talking about Tunis as an example.
Yeah. So for me, maybe, but I hope that there is a new, for example, way of dealing with as we've experienced in Tunisia. Maybe we've tried to shift towards other forms of tourism. Maybe this could be the solution. For example, I'm not sure of if it will be possible to reach this conventional way of dealing with things, but I think that the model should be more inclusive. We have to, for example, target other segments as mentioned in the question, and it should be diversified. All segments should be included. Including, for example, mass tourism, but also we should enhance, for example, other forms, cultural, historical, ecotourism, medical, etc., as I mentioned in the presentation, because I think that Tunisia has a lot to tell about through its landscape, through its history, and maybe this could be a new start for tourism strategy. I don't know. This is my opinion.
Can I have a contribution here, Dr. Galan?
Yeah, sure. Go on, Dr.
Yeah. The experience have proven that those countries that have been relying mostly on domestic tourism were the fastest to recover after the pandemic than those who are relying basically on the international tourist arrivals. Like, for example, to Spain or other parts of the world, when there was an ease of the lockdown, they started to promote their tourism industry first for the locals, and there were positive signs in this regard.
Okay, thank you very much.
I want to add that just to for example, in summer 2020 and in summer 2021, it's the local tourism who saved the tourist season in Tunisia. So this is true. But what I was talking about is that we try to have both the local tourism and the international one, not just relying exclusively on the international one, because we should not assess only the quantity of tourists, but try to shift towards maybe the quality of tourism, even local or international ones.
Ines, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Of course, we know that of course we are mixing between the Arabic region and the Middle East, despite the fact that they are different. But let me use the term Middle East. Okay, there is a general image of the Middle East as an area where we have some crisis. When you were talking about Tunisia, I get this impression that Tunisia, yes, of course, we have problems, political problems, mainly in some other countries which are much deeper than what's going on in Tunisia. But the impact of these political issues, for example, in a country like Yemen, where we don't have a lot of tourists going on for some time now. But when we compare it to Tunisia, I believe you are the most affected Arab destination by this combination of political crisis and COVID-19. For example, we have COVID-19 in Egypt, but we pass our political issue. In Yemen, they have paused, but it was not going very good for tourism in Yemen since few decades now. So Tunis, I believe Tunis, Lebanon are the most affected by this combination of domestic crisis and worldwide crisis. So how are you managing this combination? I know it's difficult.
Not very well, obviously, but yeah, that's true. Yeah, we are one of the most affected countries, maybe in terms of tourism revenues and tourism entries. Maybe because we've always relied for decades on tourism revenues. Maybe because. I don't know, I'm trying to guess, but maybe we are focused on tourism. We are relying on tourism for our economy. We're trying to enhance tourism for enhancing economic issues and I don't know. Maybe we're not very managing both very well, political and tourism issues, but I can confirm that we are really that all the previous crises and the COVID-19 really affected Tunisian tourism, but we're trying to reconsider our strategies. We're trying to think things differently. We're trying, for example, to promote, to change, for example, the inequities of tourism industries, and tourism actors are trying to their best to get out of this crisis, but I'm not sure that I answered the question.
Okay, Ines,
yeah.
I have another one. For you. Usually, I'm Egyptian, of course. I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm Egyptian. Okay, most of the time I was believing whatever crisis going on in Egypt, terrorism, political crisis, whatever, we have been through a lot. But I have this deep feeling inside me that Egypt is one of the destinations which can easily bounce back to normal. When it comes to tourism, Egypt was always surprising us by coming back so fast to tourism as normal. Okay, we have been through a lot. Okay, I believe Tunis is going to be the same. So I'm trying to be optimistic about what's going on in for the Tunisian tourism. Give us some optimistic views or something make us very optimistic about what is going to be in the future in Tunisia. What's good?
If we will change the strategy, you said that Egypt always make a way through the crisis and the difficulties. Tunisia just tried to making the same mistakes by returning to the same positioning of mass and low budget destination. This could not, for example, save the tourism or try to change the strategy of or the vision of Tunisia. Now, for example, if we're trying to encourage, for example, guest house, or try to diversify, for example, offers and outdoors activities, and try to maybe maintain the mass tourism with some segments and try to, for example, to offer other as interesting destination, for example, the Sahara, or maybe outdoor activities, or mountains in the northwest, for example, of Tunisia. Maybe in trying in valuing these region, maybe we will try to diversify the offers, and maybe we will try to maintain or encourage the equity between the region.
Okay, this is good. I will come back to you if we still have time, but let me move try to get some time.
Sorry, Galal, I want to add something for this question.
Go on.
The whole world has been many crises, such as the economic crisis, political crisis, something you say about this. Revolution like Egypt and Tunis and Libya, and the corona pandemic. We have many crises, but now I won't say sports tourism is one of the best solution. Why?
Ahmed, if you allow me, this was about to be my question. Actually, I was about to take one of the question from the server, but if you are going to talk about that, okay, this is
yes.
This is very strange for me when you said that during the pandemic. During the pandemic, if you can hear me, during the Arabic region was organizing more sport events before.
Yes.
What you said, if I got you right.
Yeah.
So this is supporting what you are saying. If you
yes, so I am saying sports tourism is one of the best solution about this, because during the crisis, sports tourism or sports events or organizing sports event is one of the best solution. Why? Because sports tourism is mandatory, and this is a great advantage for us. Tourists will not be able to go into any country other than the organized country. Yes, it's really, yeah. So countries compete to host.
They cannot avoid. You mean they cannot avoid organizing events?
Yes, mandatory. So countries compete to host tournaments, especially Olympic Games, CMC, or Viva Cup, or tourist sports such as Formula or motorcycling, like this. So sports tourism is a best solution about this. If we have crisis, many crises.
Ahmed, can I say something, because this is actually supporting. I'm following up what's going on in Saudi. Maybe it's their good luck or very good planning, I don't know, that they start organizing events and sport and focus on these activities just before the pandemic. So me, it looks like Saudi Arabia is the only country, for me at least, is one of the countries which have not been affected massively by the pandemic when it comes to tourism. Maybe it's their good planning or good luck. They started sport events just before the coronavirus.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes,
Muhammad, you have been spent some time in Saudi, so maybe you can answer this one as well.
You are the professor of events management, Dr. Galal, and they are organizing the biggest event ever in the world. Hajj every year in very limited space, with millions of people come to one city every year. So they have the capability to do it elsewhere, in the country.
Okay, Ahmed. Yes. Go on, Ahmed.
Yes. So I will tell you something about Qatar. Qatar. Why Qatar going to host Viva World Cup? It's a big plan for must be all of the world know where is Qatar, when is Qatar. So we're going to host Viva World Cup. Next year, Qatar will host the big event, big event, يعني mega sports event. So many millions and many millions tourists, many millions يعني players and officials and يعني many groups going to Qatar to view or to watch football play. You know, Galal, when we think about we can buy ticket to and going to Spain to watch Real Madrid and Barcelona. It's the same. It's the same.
Okay.
It's the same. Football is the same.
Ines, maybe this is a late advice, but maybe it's a late advice, but maybe Tunisia as well, maybe they need to think about events, sport events. This is the advice which Ahmed and Dif is giving to us. It looks working very good, especially when Ahmed was talking during his presentation about this bubble, the precautionary activities which have been done in Egypt, and it was very successful at that time. So maybe we can learn something from this to the future, Gafar. Maybe this could be one of the conclusions. Of course, one of the things which we learn is that we have crisis, then we have crisis management. Maybe one of the things we need to think about is event could be good during crisis. It happened from the examples we have been seeing here. So I know we have been taking a lot of time. I have one more question from the chat here for everyone. Then I will move to Gafar if he has a final say, and then we can go to Kazim. So the last question for everyone, and it's from the chat panel, saying, can you give us some example for the shift in segments? I will try to make it simpler than that. So from Saudi, from Tunisia, and Ahmed from Egypt, can you tell us which segments you are targeting, and are we seeing some changes in these segments recently, or we are still looking for the old ones? I will start from Mohammed, talking about Saudi or Emirates. You have more experience in Saudi. Are we switching segments in Saudi?
Segments in terms of tourists?
Tourist segments, yes.
No, at the moment, they are basically still dependent on the religious arrivals, you know, and for the events, they are only promoting it locally.
Mohammed, may I ask why? Why they are not open yet to the international tourism, despite all the efforts going on now?
Yes, because there is still some restrictions on particular places, and also we shouldn't ignore that the high seasonality of the tourism industry in Saudi Arabia. The tourism season is very short. It's only 3 or 4 months a year, and they are still also in the beginning. They still need more time to be able to attract international arrivals to a certain destination in the country.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed. Ines, are we switching segments in Tunisia now?
We're not for now. We're still trying to target mass tourists, and we're still having the same strategy. So maybe
which segments you are targeting, Ines? Which segments you are targeting?
International tourists, mostly European tourists, and tourists trying to have the low-cost destination, unfortunately. So thinking about Tunisia in the first place.
Okay. Yes.
But I think there is an obvious shift in segmenting in Egypt. You know, in the last couple of years, there is much more emphasis on attracting Japanese and the Chinese markets after relying for a long time on the Eastern European segments from Russia and Ukraine, and I think this was due to the bombing of the Russian airplane the banning of Russian travel to the country. I think this is a very positive and promising strategy that the ministry started to think for alternative markets. They started to think to attract Japanese, Chinese, and also to focus on the Gulf countries. I think it's a latest step, but it's at least it's a good sign.
Okay. Yes, I believe what you are saying is actually true. If we go through the history of tourism in Egypt, we have been switching from one segment to another segment, from cultural tourism, mainly promoting for French, British, then we start targeting Italian with Sharm el-Sheikh, German with Hurghada, then Russian with Hurghada, then Ukrainian, and nowadays Chinese and Japanese. So I believe Egypt is one of the tourist destinations which can accommodate a lot of segments and people coming from different background, different level if we are talking about the spending, different interest if we are talking about the type of tourism and so on. So
and to be honest, the crisis that usually forces a country to do this shift, we basically used to attract Germans, Italian, as you have just mentioned, the French until 2005, until the bombing of Sharm el-Sheikh, Dahab, and we switch it to the.
I will say something to Gafar before giving him, saying thank you very much, because I cannot see Ahmed. I can see his name, but okay, I don't know. I'm not quite sure if he's still hearing us or not, but I will say something to Gafar. Maybe I can remind him of something. Once I was talking to Gafar and I was telling him that I would like to do something about the resilience of tourism. The model I was thinking about in my mind was Egypt. And I'm very still interested in doing that. Not because I'm Egyptian, but I believe, yes, Egypt is one of the countries which really know how to come to stand again from one crisis. We have been through a lot, but we still managed to have a lot of tourists. Maybe we need to discuss why Egypt is a good example in managing a crisis. I'm quite sure there are other destinations, but this is the one I have in mind right now. So I believe, Gafar, that's all for my side. Muhammad, we will keep this for the next.
We have every decade. We have every decade we have at least 3 major crises. In terms of political instability, terrorism, pandemic recently. So
Okay. So Gafar, I believe this is that's it from my side. If you have a final say, if you please.
Well, thank you very much. Normally, people expect me to have the concluding remarks and then say goodbye. This has been a very interactive panel, different views coming together, going apart from each other, then coming together, being challenged, etc. So instead of having a conclusion, I want to myself ask some questions. When we put things together in tourism, it's often for the purpose of marketing, and marketing, there's a unique selling proposition in it, which distinguishes the case for the country. We have the Arab region. How do we distinguish Arab region, and what is the unique selling proposition of Arab countries? In a way, I got a sort of indirect answer from the video that we watched. It is history, and it included countries which were not Arabs, by the way, as well as Arab countries, the video I'm talking about. So it is history. But then, so when we have answered this, and I want the panel to help me to understand this myself, then what is the unique selling proposition of each of the Arab countries? We have 22 Arab countries. I'm not mixing that with Muslim, because there are 50 Muslim majority countries in the world. So it's not the Muslim, it's the Arab countries. How did 22 countries distinguish themselves from each other? To the Western world is the Arab world. So how does Oman want to shine among the 22? How does Qatar wants to shine among 22? How does Tunisia wants to shine? So I would like to actually put this conclusion in a form of question to benefit from your wisdom, if I may. I noticed that Dr. Erdat was shaking his head, so probably has something to say.
Yeah, I have something to say, but maybe we can start with Ahmed, then Muhammad, then Ines. Did you get Ahmed? Did you hear what Gafar?
Yes. But I am sorry. I'm going to toilet.
Okay.
I want to only at the first talk about. I think that Egypt attracts multiple segments of tourism, especially in sports. You say at the first the seminar, I'm coming from different background. I'm coming from sports management, and I say it's one of my expectation that the sports have a big role, and Egypt is now thinking about applying to host mega events like Viva World Cup 2036, inshallah. And this way is one of Egypt thinking about attracts multiple segments. This is my opinion.
Okay, Dr. Muhammad.
In terms of the selling propositions for the Arab tourism, I think accessibility is one of the unique or the competitive advantage for the region, and also the diversity in terms of the weather, in terms of the scenery, and I think there are also some countries that are the history in some destinations can be a distinction issue for the Arab countries.
Okay, Ines.
I'll also join. I'm sorry, already exhausted. Dr. Muhammad opinion. It's about history. It's about the history background. It's about cultural background. It's about diversity. It's about the diversity of landscapes. That's what we are offering. That's what might distinguish us, Arab countries. That's my opinion.
Okay, I have different answer, Gafar. I will first of all talk about what diversify Arab as a one unit from the other world. Then what diversify some of the Arab countries. I believe in the Arab countries we have some features when it comes to tourism which distinguish us from others. For example, I'm not talking about history. This is something, okay, we know it, but I'm talking about the cultural atmosphere. For example, when I'm talking to my students here in Oman, I'm always telling them that some countries they don't have the best historical destination or archaeological destinations, but every Arabic country, they have some kind of cultural background. This is the thing which distinguishes these places. For example, if we are talking about Saudi, they don't have that much archaeological sites. They have, but not that much. But they have this culture. We are living our culture. If you are visiting Oman, and I know you did that several times before, you will find people dress in cultural way. For example, if we are talking about Japanese, they have a cultural uniform, but they are not dressing it every time. In Oman, no, they are dressing it every time. They are still eating their traditional food. So most of the Arab countries, they still have this cultural, I don't want to say bubble, but we have this cultural atmosphere. So if someone visiting an Arab country, he can live the culture,
identity,
not visit. Yes, they can live the culture, life, not just visit a historical site. This is what I believe. And I believe we should sell that. We are not good in selling that culture, not history. Countries, I will talk about, for example, Dubai. Dubai, they start distinguishing themselves from the Middle East. They start distinguishing themselves from the Arabic area. Mostly, they are introducing themselves as the most modern, a shopping hub destination in the Arabic world. Qatar, they had another approach. We are the sport destination of the Arab area, and most probably are the most beautiful destination for sport activities all over the world. This is our aim, and we are heading to that. So we have two big, they are new actually in tourism, but they start distinguishing themselves. Saudi is doing the same, by the way, right now. They are building their own, or they are trying to dominate their own area. We are the country of new events, a mix of events, and come and see this very traditional Arabic country. We are presenting the traditions, plus events. Egypt, we have been selling history, but I have been hearing from a lot of people very recently that what's most attractive about Egypt is the social life. You will be surprised to know that a lot of people visiting Egypt, they enjoy sitting on a coffee shop in the street, and that's it. Maybe they will stay there for 3-4 hours, just watching people sitting like that. Okay, there is something magic about Egypt. I don't know what is it, but there is something magic about Egypt. People are just visiting the place, staying in the street. When you ask them, we enjoy it to the maximum. We don't know what's that. We usually, as the Egyptian, call it the Egyptian spirit. Okay? We don't know if this is true or not. But Egypt, we have been selling history, and I believe we should keep selling history. I don't know a lot about Tunisia, Morocco, but at least this is the examples I have in my mind. That's it.
That's very engaging discussion. Thank you very much. As I said, this was a very engaging panel discussion, and I enjoyed it. Now, the community is the key concept in our webinar series, and tourism, by definition, should benefit the host community. If it doesn't do that, then it's failing. So yes, we can have sustainable tourism, but if people are not happier before tourism than after tourism, tourism is sustainable. Is this really sustainability? The well-being of host community is very important. Right now, you talk about uniqueness of all of these rich cultures. But when we want to give it to the tourists, we use the term hospitality that we did not use in this meeting. So we dish it out in the name of hospitality. So we give the hospitality from the local community to the tourists. What do we give in return to the community?
Yeah.
Dr. Mustafa, I agree with you. Jobs are important. Gross national product is important. Percentage of tourism is important. But at the end, are people benefiting or not? And sometimes, in some occasions, the host communities, especially smaller communities. The reason I emphasize the smaller community, because they're simpler communities. Their culture is simpler. In the big cities, the cultures become sophisticated. They're managed to be cosmopolitan. Villages cannot manage to be cosmopolitan. They're monocultural with a defined, everything defined for them. So I think we have to find ways that sustainability includes the well-being of local people. Okay. So is it part of environmental? Is it part of economics? Is it part, what is it? Our culture. But culture we use in tourism, do we return? That's my question. Of course we use the culture of people, but do we return something to the host community who may not indeed be involved in tourism? Yes, people who get jobs, that's direct. But how about those who give the culture, share the hospitality, but they don't feel they're getting anything out of tourism? So we have to be thinking about well-being of people as well.
Yeah, this is one of the main issues. And if you go deep in a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, some of the Arab tourist destinations, especially this new tourist destination, this is one of the main issues. People are always asking, okay, what are we getting out of this? For some communities, they still seeing tourism as an activity which is coming with cultural change, increasing prices, and we are not getting that much out of it. So what you are saying is actually we are facing in some, at least these new tourist destinations. We are facing this question right now and we don't have the answer yet. We still need to serve and think about what we are going to give to the community. Maybe this is the way they can accept tourism 100% and be 100% involved in it.
Is to engage them in the and to be part of the tourism product, and I think we have an obvious example for this, Dr. Galal, in South Sinai, and the people think that they are marginalized by the government, and if we I participated in a consultancy project 15 years ago, and when we tried to survey the number of the locals who are already working in the industry, we found only 5 people in a diving center, and all the employees were from the newcomers from the Delta, Cairo, Alexandria. That's why the people there feel that the tourism was not a good thing for the tourism development was not a good thing for them. They didn't benefit from them, and also they were also blamed for the for the tourist activities or the terrorism events that happened in that destination, and as a consequence of this, they were were not involved anymore in selling their artifacts or products for the tourists as before such severe events.
That's really very interesting, and thank you very much for the contribution. I'm trying to put community back into the discussion and to make sure that in this webinar and every webinar, we talk about the benefits of tourism to the local population, because they give so much and they may not get enough out of it in the sense of happiness and well-being. It reminds me, since we have a Tunisian presentation and Tunisian delegation, among us, it reminds me of a movie which was made, cinema movie, which was made in 1970s, Soleil de Ines, which shows German developers going to a Tunisian village, purchasing the Tunisian village, building a first-class resort, and at the end of it, the local people have all sort of conflicts. They're fighting each other, and the life becomes miserable to every one of them. Is this what tourism is supposed to do? So again, I want to make sure that we put community into the discussion, that the purpose of tourism, yes, is to generate jobs, yes, to contribute to economic activities and et cetera, but yes, it takes so much from the culture and it has to give something back to the community. And I think we covered some of these points, and Galal, you mentioned that you would like to do something on resiliency, and of course we heard a lot about sustainability and the pillars of it. So I hope we can accommodate this in follow-up webinars that you volunteer to initiate. Thank you very much. And I pass on the microphone to Qasim.
Thank you, Gaf.
Thank you very much. It was a very active and let's say informative discussion at the end, and the presentations were brilliant. It might look that Arab world is just one piece, and especially when you look at them from outside. Actually, to answer partially Jafar's question, I started my experience with learning from Arab world when I started learning the language itself. When I was studying Arabic, I found that Arabic is not one language. Maybe the words are the same, but if you listen to different accents around this region, you don't understand. Saudi's accent is totally different with Egyptians and so on. So culture is also the same. People, what I can say, they are different. And if you think about Arab region as a whole, There are different communities, there are different societies and different attractions. I have some experience working with some countries, like in Tunisia, for example, we have the oasis of Gafsa that is a showcase of people who adapt their livelihood in a very, very strict environment with no water. They have been surviving there, and then recently they are designated as agricultural heritage by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. So agri-heritage tourism of Gafsa is just one example, but maybe tourism is different in Dubai and Tunisia, because Dubai's geographical location and the resources is totally different. And I read in the chat that Oman is not ready for tourism, to open different type of tourism there. So yes, the carrying capacity and what tourism bring is the matter. So we need to think in what extent tourism can help communities, and they want tourism. What are their priorities? Of course, tourism development should go side by side with the community priorities for development. Why they need tourism? Do they need more income, or they need direct investment, or they have extra capacity to utilize through tourism? And Arab world is absolutely attractive. It has very high, long and deep history and culture. And like many other regions of the world, Arabs can be an identity as one piece, and also diversified as many, many type of tourism and many, let's say, plans and models of tourism development. So back to Jafar's comment, I also want to add that as we started with the smart community tourism, Arab world that contribute a lot to the world humanity and culture, they need to be a model also. We need to think how we can learn from Arab world and their diversification, their inclusion, how they include, for example, rural and urban communities into their tourism development. And we have a lot to learn. We have Arab Springs, for example, the political issues, and we have the pandemic management and lessons that we can learn from them. And I'm sure the language itself, which one of the major languages of the world, is representing the culture itself. It's also apart from the religion, that one of the major religions of the world, and it's really diversified and a big and important market, and let's say both supply and demand in international tourism. We have pilgrim, of course, the Saudi pilgrimage that was affected by pandemic, and how they are managing it, because it was a mega event. So if you look at the Olympics, for example, we have once every 4 years, but we had a mega event of pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, and it just stopped because of pandemic. So how they deal with it, or what are they doing it? It's all can be lessons that we can learn from Arab region. And I don't think we can just conclude it in one session like this. So I want really to congratulate you all for this really rich conversation at the end and discussion, and invite, as I learned from Professor Jafari, you guys to come back again and organize. Let's do more, because we need to hear from you more. and we need to learn from you more. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kazim, especially for being with us. So we know you are in Japan and there is a time difference. It's almost early AM now. So thank you very much for your organization and for Hera, and of course for Professor Gaffer for the invitation. And just maybe a final say before saying goodbye. Actually, the aim of this webinar, this particular webinar, was to present two issues: Arab area as a tourist destination and Arabs as tourists. Actually, we just covered the first part. We talked about Arab areas as tourist destination. Maybe the next webinar, maybe in May or June, we can talk about Arabs as tourists. What distinguishes Arab tourists, and how can we, other destinations, work to meet our need at a major segment? Of course, we can come with a lot of statistics which support that Arab tourists are one of the main segments all over the world, among, if not the highest spenders in most of the European destinations, especially UK, France, Italy, and so on. So as such powerful segment, are we expressing our needs in a clear way? And do we receive these needs from the other destinations? So I believe we should move from talking about how to satisfy tourists, only satisfy tourists, to talk about how as well other destinations should work to satisfy the Arab tourists. So maybe we can talk about this next time, inshallah.
Yes, very, very interesting idea. You reminded me, Galal, of one of my...
I will work on it. I will work on it.
Yes. And we have, for example, halal tourism.
Halal tourism, I was thinking about that.
In Japan, and you might get surprised to know how Japanese are also interested in halal tourism and Southeast Arab world. At the end, I just want to acknowledge that we have a distinguished participant today. We have Mr. Hamdan, who is the former Vice Minister of Tourism in Palestine. And we had distinguished scholars that just left, and we are very thankful for everybody's attention and participation in SCoT. Thank you very much. And Sabah al-Nur. I don't know if it is...
No, Sabah al-Nur. No.
Sabah al-Khair.
مساء الخير. مساء الخير.
مساء الخير. I would like just to thank Dr. Professor Ahmed Farouk, Dr. Masouma, Dr. Muhammad Deif, and Inas for their participation. It was a very nice one. Thank you very much, and hope to see you again. I believe that's it, and have a very wonderful weekend ahead.
Thank you very much for bringing us together. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaffer.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you.